Very few estates in England were established with the intention not only to exist, but to endure political change across centuries. Knowle Mansion, founded in 1456, was one of them. Its origins lie in a period when England was deeply unstable, shaped by dynastic rivalry, shifting loyalties, and fragile royal authority. The Wars of the Roses loomed in the background, and noble families rose or disappeared with alarming speed. Knowle was built during this uncertainty, not as a symbol of luxury, but as a calculated response to risk. From its earliest foundations, the estate was designed to remain intact regardless of who sat on the throne. Land ownership was power, and Knowle controlled land extensively. While many contemporaneous estates were divided, seized, or abandoned, Knowle was constructed to resist fragmentation. It did not depend on royal favor alone. Instead, it relied on structure, geography, and discipline management. From the beginning, Knowle Mansion was conceived as a seat of continuity rather than display, setting the tone for its survival across generations. The 15th century was not an era of security for England's elite. Political authority was fragile, and noble families often found themselves destroyed by proximity to power. Knowle Mansion emerged within this volatile environment, where miscalculation could erase generations of influence overnight. Unlike estates built to impress the court, Knowle maintained distance from excessive visibility. This restraint was deliberate. Its builders understood that attention invited danger, while quiet control ensured survival. The estate's location allowed it to remain influential, without becoming entangled in constant political conflict. While other houses sought advancement through courtly ambition, Knowle invested in permanence. Agricultural productivity, controlled tenancy, and local authority formed the backbone of its power. This made the estate resilient to sudden political reversals. Even when dynasties collapsed and alliances shifted, Knowle remained operational and intact. Power flowed not from titles or appearances, but from land and structure. This approach distinguished Knowle from many noble houses that burned brightly for a generation and then vanished. Knowle chose endurance over ambition, a decision that defined its future. In medieval England, land was the most reliable form of power. Money could disappear, titles could be revoked, and favor could turn fatal. Knowle Mansion was built upon this understanding. The estate controlled extensive lands that sustained agriculture, labor, and local survival. This control translated directly into influence. Tenants depended on the estate not only for employment, but for stability itself. Such dependency created loyalty without force. Knowle did not need to impose authority aggressively. It became embedded in daily life. The estate's wealth was productive rather than speculative, insulating it from economic shocks that ruined other noble houses. While some families pursued courtly expenditure that drained their resources, Knowle preserved its land base carefully. This economic discipline ensured continuity even during periods of national hardship. Over time, Knowle's authority became normalized within the region. It was not questioned because it had always been present. This quiet dominance, rooted in land rather than spectacle, allowed Knowle Mansion to function as a lasting center of power rather than a temporary display of wealth. One of the greatest threats to noble estates was internal division. Many powerful houses collapsed, not due to external enemies, but because land was split among heirs. Knowle Mansion avoided this fate through disciplined inheritance practices. The estate was treated as a unified structure rather than personal property. Succession was carefully planned to preserve integrity across generations. Authority passed forward without fragmenting the land that sustained it. This approach prevented the gradual weakening that afflicted many aristocratic families. Individuals were temporary. The estate was permanent. Even when heirs lacked distinction or ambition, the structure remained intact. Legal arrangements ensured that Knowle could not be easily sold, divided, or mismanaged for short-term gain. This separation between individual success and institutional survival created resilience. Knowle did not depend on extraordinary figures to endure. It depended on systems. Over centuries, this method preserved both land and influence. while other estates diminished through careless inheritance. Knowle remained whole. Its continuity was not accidental, but the result of deliberate restraint and long-term discipline. Knowle Mansion survived because it understood how to adapt without surrendering its foundation. England transformed dramatically over the centuries. Religious reform, civil war, and political revolution reshaped society. Many estates failed by resisting change too, aggressively or abandoning structure entirely. Knowle followed a different path. Architectural modifications reflected evolving tastes, yet the estate's core purpose remained unchanged. Power was preserved quietly while outward forms adjusted. During periods of upheaval, Knowle avoided unnecessary confrontation. It neither challenged authority recklessly, nor aligned itself too closely with unstable regimes. This flexibility allowed it to pass through crises intact. Adaptation was gradual, calculated, and controlled. The estate absorbed change rather than reacting impulsively to it. This strategy preserved legitimacy across generations. Knowle did not freeze itself in the past, nor did it dissolve into the present. Instead, it balanced tradition with pragmatism. This balance ensured that while England changed repeatedly, Knowle Mansion remained relevant, stable, and influential throughout each transformation. Behind Knowle's longevity lay robust legal protection. Trusts, settlements, and inheritance arrangements shielded the estate from instability. These mechanisms prevented reckless sale, excessive debt, or division caused by personal failure. Even when individuals misjudged circumstances, the estate itself remained protected. This institutional framework ensured continuity beyond human weakness. Knowle belonged not to one person, but to a system designed to outlast individuals. Such protection was rare among estates that collapsed under personal mismanagement. By separating ownership from absolute control, Knowle limited risk. Legal discipline reinforced economic stability, ensuring that land remained productive and unified. Over centuries, this structure allowed Knowle to endure financial downturns and political uncertainty. It did not rely on exceptional fortune or heroic leadership. It relied on rules. This legal foundation transformed Knowle from a residence into an institution. The estate survived not because it avoided danger entirely, but because it was insulated against collapse when danger inevitably arrived. Knowle Mansion's survival was also shaped by its understanding of visibility. Many noble houses sought recognition through grandeur and political presence. Knowle exercised restraint. It did not compete for constant attention, nor did it withdraw entirely. Its authority operated quietly, embedded within structure rather than spectacle. This approach reduced exposure to political backlash and public scrutiny. Over time, Knowle's presence became accepted rather than challenged. Quiet authority proved more durable than overt dominance. The estate did not need to announce its power because it was already integrated into local systems of governance and economy. This subtle influence was harder to undermine, while visible power provoked resistance. Knowle's stability discouraged confrontation. Its restraint was not weakness, but strategy. By limiting exposure, the estate preserved influence across centuries when louder rivals collapsed. Knowle demonstrated that power, when understated, often lasts longer than power loudly displayed. Economic discipline was central to Knowle's endurance. Unlike estates that relied on prestige alone, Knowle remained economically functional. Agricultural production sustained the estate during periods of national instability. This productivity ensured continuous value regardless of political conditions. Knowle avoided dependence on speculative ventures that could collapse suddenly. Its wealth was grounded in land, labor, and long-term management. This stability protected the estate from the financial crises that destroyed many aristocratic houses. Even during economic downturns, Knowle continued to function effectively. Its ability to generate consistent value insulated it from debt and decline. Economic restraint complemented legal protection, reinforcing resilience. Knowle's managers prioritized sustainability over expansion. This conservative approach preserved influence while avoiding catastrophic risk. Over time, economic stability translated into social authority. The estate became a dependable constant in a changing world. By remaining productive rather than symbolic, Knowle secured its place as a lasting institution rather than a fading monument. As England modernized, aristocratic power faced increasing scrutiny. Many historic estates lost relevance as social structures evolved. Knowle adapted without abandoning its foundation. It adjusted its role within society while preserving ownership and structure. The estate did not resist modernization blindly, nor did it relinquish control entirely. Instead, it repositioned itself within new systems. This adaptability allowed Knowle to survive reforms that dismantled less flexible estates. Its legitimacy shifted from dominance to continuity. While formal power structures changed, Knowle retained influence through stability and history. The estate's presence remained accepted because it evolved alongside society. This ability to transition without collapse distinguished Knowle from houses that either froze in tradition or surrendered authority prematurely. Knowle's survival was not rooted in nostalgia, but in controlled evolution. It remained relevant by understanding when to adapt and when to preserve. Knowle Mansion stands today not merely as a historic residence, but as a lesson in endurance. Its survival since 1456 was not accidental. It resulted from discipline, restraint, and structural intelligence. Knowle did not depend on extraordinary wealth, constant political favor, or dramatic ambition. It depended on systems designed to outlast individuals. Through careful inheritance, legal protection, economic discipline, and controlled visibility, the estate navigated centuries of instability. While many noble houses disappeared, Knowle remained intact. Its story reveals a fundamental truth about power. Longevity is achieved through structure, not spectacle. Knowle Mansion was never built to dominate history loudly. It was built to remain when others vanished. That quiet resilience defines its legacy. In a nation shaped by constant change, Knowle stands as proof that power survives best when it is patient, disciplined, and deliberately restrained.